The Prime Minister is getting tough on illegal migrants. He's really grasping the nettle. We've had reports today that he is setting up a COVID-style cabinet committee to ensure illegal migrants are removed and the small boat crisis ends as soon as the illegal migration bill is through Parliament. And it's right that Mr Sunak is taking firm action because controlling our borders is of fundamental importance to the British people. As you all know, we have an extraordinary and proud history of taking in refugees, going way back to the Huguenots, but more recent times, the Kindertransport in the 1930s, people from Ukraine and Hong Kong now. But immigration continues to be one of the most important salient issues to voters. And we've seen a report in The Sun today that if the current rate of illegal and legal immigration continues, in the next 25 years, Britain's population will increase to the equivalent of 15 new cities with a total population of 82 million. This is not a sustainable rate. It needs to be brought under control. But there are some. There are those within our lawmaking institutions that don't really see the magnitude of the problem and want to drag their feet. Yes, I'm talking about members of the House of Lords, some of whom have been whinging about being detained in the chamber until 4 o'clock this morning, debating the illegal migration bill. It seems many of our unelected members are happy to claim the generous sum of £342 per day, funded by you, the taxpayer, for being kind enough to show up. But when it comes to a few hours overtime to scrutinise vital legislation, there's a whinge fest. The decision to push the proceedings through the night is indicative of the Prime Minister's determination, the government's laudable aim to make sure the legislation gets passed in a timely way and the small boat crisis can be dealt with. And you see Labour and Lib Dem peers speaking of having to stay late as disgraceful and disappointing, whilst one noble, if idle lord, said it is ironic that we are talking about detention when the government front bench is trying to detain us here, failing to see the irony of thinking that spending a few extra hours in one of the grandest debating chambers in the world is equivalent to those risking their lives crossing the channel at the behest of criminal gangs. The Lords is there as a revising chamber. It is not a policy-making chamber. These peers who are complaining about the policy, not about the details of the law, which is their correct role. And the Prime Minister is right to be taking decisive action on this crisis, and he shows that he will not be deterred in solving it against virtue-signalling peers who will, of course, oppose it, especially if it means getting to their beds late. The Prime Minister must stand his ground and will stand his ground and is showing true purpose. And the unelected Europhile peers who have a track record of attempting to frustrate the will of the people will not be allowed to succeed.